Hi there. I thought I would make a very, very quick recording. There are so many things that popped into my mind after our session that I really just want to offer you. And what I'm going to share in this video is not even all of it. Don't be surprised if I end up sending you another shorter video. But I thought that these are a few very, very critical little pieces of nuggets or pieces or little nuggets that could really help you understand or reconnect with the essentials of creating the vision that you want and creating the clarity. And then not only having created the clarity in your mind, but moving forward and bringing it into reality in your life and making it the lived reality of yourself 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 3 weeks from now. It really is up to you what that time frame is. One of the things that I find so fascinating and so inspiring is that when we have this idea that who we want to be and what we want to create for ourselves is done, it is settled in our minds, the speed at which it comes to pass in our lives can be quite rapid. And I'm really hoping that you are able to experience that kind of miraculous transition and transformation in your life by really ingraining that vision that you have, that clarity in a part of your mind that makes it a fait accompli. Now, I've got a list of a few things I want to go through. I'm not going to go into much detail. But I really hope that it is something that you can get your teeth into. And if you have any questions, if there's any clarification that you'd like, please drop me a line. WhatsApp is the best. The email works, of course, as well. So the first thing I want to share with you is, and we didn't necessarily speak about this in the session, but you've got to take 100% responsibility for what you want to accomplish. Now, intellectually, this is really easy, but it is also easy, and we are so quickly seduced into the narrative that there are things around us that stop us from accomplishing, what we want to accomplish. There are always considerations that come up, reasonings in our minds why we can't do something. We can't move. We think to ourselves we can't move on something because someone's going to be upset, the timing isn't right, or whatever the case might be. If what you want is important to you, if your vision, if you are clear on what you want to create, there's always going to be a consideration that is going to stop you from moving forward. The decision is the consideration strong enough, relevant enough, credible enough to keep you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish? And is it going to end up being the reason why you don't accomplish what you want? Or are you going to find ways in which to work with those considerations, either questioning them and whether they are valid and real, or if they are valid and real, finding ways to, address them and continue moving in the direction of your hopes and your ambitions. I want to assure you that no one who's created anything that matters for them has done it at a time where all the stars are aligned all the time. There's always something that they have to make difficult choices about. And these kinds of considerations is one of them. The other thing that comes up very frequently is the way in which we feel. Fear is always there. There's always going to be a fear of rejection. There's always going to be a fear of failure. There's always going to be a fear of anything that is unknown to us. We have to start finding our way into our comfort zone. We have to find ways to bring compassion into our lives. We have to find ways in which to self-soothe so that those fears don't hold us back. And when the fears feel really enormous, it becomes critical that we move back and understand what is our why. Our why is the motivation that gets us up in the morning. Our why is the motivation that allows us to move past the limitations of our mind. Our why is the reason why we can ultimately become a version of ourselves that we sit back and think, oh my word, what a wonderful, wonderful human being. I don't know about you, but I would love to get a very constant experience where I look back on myself or I see myself in the mirror and I am completely and utterly proud of who I am. not just because I'm created in infinite grace, but also because I have been courageous, I've been brave, and I have been consistent, and I have validated myself enough so that I could grow into the version of myself that I desire to be. The third element are actual external factors that exist in our life that can stop us from creating what we want to create. I will say to you that this is the point in time where what you want to create, if there are real external things, you've got to sit down with pen and paper, you've got to become strategic. You might need to bring partners on board to help you think through how you can overcome these things. I have a friend at the moment who started a business, and he was unable to get traction on the business. He needed certain licensings and authorizations at a government level, and he couldn't do it. And so, what did he do? He relocated himself to another country, 2 hours away from South Africa. And he now lives a life in which he commutes. It's a very uncomfortable life that he lives, but he's able to bring to life his dream. There's a solution for every problem. We have to really become determined to find that solution. So the obstacles are always there. You've got to be 100% responsible. I think that what becomes so important is that we take the view of no matter what, I'm accomplishing this no matter what. And it is a beautiful dance that we have to go into between working with our limitations with compassion and also setting about creating the actions with determination. And that's a beautiful dance again between the masculine and the feminine within ourselves. And it is really, really important that we become real about what our excuses are and that we own up to those excuses and that we find ways past those excuses. So what do you want to accomplish no matter what? Clarity and uncertainty live hand in hand. And the more, no matter what, you become in your approach, the more you're going to live in clarity and the less time you're going to spend in uncertainty. The second thing that I want to share with you is that you've got to start thinking about time in a very different way. Time is now. The only place, the only time where you have any kind of power, the only place, the only time when you have real authority to take action is now. Very often we defer things. We defer things to a time in the future. Next Monday is a favorite. 1st of January is a firm favorite. The 1st of the month is a firm favorite. When a certain milestone is achieved, then we will ostensibly step forward and take action. And we all know that this is a myth. The only time that we can take action is now. For those of us who started our New Year's resolutions or our goal setting, whatever the case might be, in December, and we deferred everything to the 1st of January, guess what? When the 1st of January came, it was now. And when the 2nd of January comes, it is now. And every moment in our lives is now. And there's never going to be a moment when now isn't accompanied by the discomforts, the challenges, the obstacles, considerations, the feelings, and the external things. Now is always going to be where we take action. If we are thinking about taking action anywhere other than now, please know that you are away from your personal power. Your personal power resides in now. Every moment is now. If you are someone who is about to embark on accomplishing your goals, then you have to indoctrinate yourself into the idea that it is always now o'clock. So now is important. And another element around time is the element of consistency. It really doesn't matter what you do on day 1 and day 2 and day 3 of your pursuit of your outcomes. Of course, it matters if you've abandoned it on day 1, 2, and 3, there won't be a day 4 and day 5. But what really matters is how you show up to your goals, to your ambitions, to your intentions, to your vision. How do you show up to it on day 32? How do you show up to it on day 55, on day 178? Can you continuously show up to the things that you really want to create in your life? If you intend to be a new version of yourself, you have to practice being that version of yourself every single day. My invitation to you, my encouragement to you is to really lean into the creation of rituals, of support groups, of accountability partners, so that you can get to the creation of what you want. We didn't do goal setting in our session, but goal setting is not that hard. There is so much material around about smart goal setting. There's so much material about segmenting each of your intentions into goals, and then those goals into steps and actions, and giving timelines to do that and get the support you need to make sure that you show up to it every single day. The next element that I want to share with you is that our goals in and of themselves is not what is important. What is really important is how we recreate ourselves in order to become the version of ourselves that lives the reality of that accomplished goal. The version of me that can speak one-to-one is not the same version of me that can speak to 1,000 people at a time. And so the gap between the two is the growth that I have to step into in order to make the transition from the one to the other, assuming that is a goal that I want. If you want more money in your life, who are you as a person who has more money in your life? If you want more love in your life, who are you as a person who has more love in your life? The goal is really just something to put on a scoreboard, but what really matters, where the real mastery is what happens inside of you and how you recreate yourself so that you become the person who lives that version of reality. That version of reality is available to you. And I want to just say this is in the Ultimate Clarity Kit workbook, but I want to say this to you. Whatever you are looking for, whatever you are seeking, is seeking you. We all have different wishes, we all have different desires. And the reason why is because we connect with the universe differently. We connect with the different vibrations of the universe differently. And so you have to really, really understand, accept, integrate, ingrain into yourself. Make it your lived reality, your belief system. Every single thing you want wants you. All you have to do is step into a version of yourself that will be able to live that reality. It's waiting for you on the other side of that courage. The final thing, or maybe it's not the final thing, who knows with me, I want to share with you the idea that maybe what is important to become the person who lives the vision of your life is that you create rituals around setting multiple goals at a time. I love working with 4 goals at a time, and the reason why I love working with 4 goals at a time is precisely because of the growth that I have to undergo, the habits I have to recreate, the lifestyle that I have to recreate, the way of living that I have to recreate in order to become that version of myself. An example, for instance, is I wanted to sleep better. And for me to sleep better, I had to make a number of different goals. The one goal was shut down by a particular time in the evening. Eat at a particular time and not later than a particular time. Stop having caffeine at a particular time. So that one vision had many, many goals. One intention had many, many goals, many activities that I had to do. But to get me really going, I had to get other goals as well. I had to have things that I needed to accomplish in the morning that would get me up early. So walking became a big part of my ritual. Having early meetings became a big part of my ritual, even though some of those meetings were just meetings with myself. And by the way, I would always encourage meetings with yourself first thing in the morning. That is the CEO way. So set many goals. So for me, around that one element of sleeping better, I changed the diet of what I consumed physically, mentally, visually, and I set goals or intentions around what I wanted to do in the mornings, and who I wanted to do it with, and what were the big ticket items for me to cross off my day. I think you get the gist. I'm not going to belabor this point, but many goals means that you've got to work with yourself in many different ways, create dynamic habits, new habits, and this is how you shift yourself from point A to point B. I also want to encourage you to remain alive and alert to your heart's desires. And I often encourage my clients to make lists of 30 things that they want to accomplish in who they want to be, 30 things they want to accomplish in what they want to have, 30 things that they want to accomplish in what they want to do. These are important things because it allows you to really live an inspired life. One or two goals doesn't really wake you up, it doesn't shake you up, and it doesn't require that you have to really, really, really become courageous. You can play it quite safe with one or two goals, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't require you to tap into your imagination quite as much as a plethora of goals that you can have between now and when you eventually say goodbye, bid farewell to this beautiful life. Is there anything else? I want to just close off by saying that it's important to think about what you desire. And very often we say we can't earn a living doing what we desire. Becoming clear on, or we can't earn a living doing what we like. The challenge is that we don't very frequently sit down and anchor for ourselves what it is that we want to do. We think about them at a very fanciful level, but we don't say, I want to make a living just hanging out with people and speaking to people. And we might say, that's not a way to earn a living. You might want to say, I like talking nonsense. I like making people laugh. You might say, oh, it's not a way to earn a living. You might say something to yourself, I really like gardening and being outside. And some part of you will say to you, that's not how you make a living. The thing though is that if you become more and more present about the things that you really enjoy doing, your subconscious mind will eventually connect the dots between how you are able to do what you like to do, or what you'd like to do for a living. Oprah talks to people for a living. Tour guides hang out with people and take them on to amazing places for a living. I know so many people who are turning from just being gardeners into landscapers, and they're recreating the way in which they live as a result. Trevor Noah and so many other comedians are examples of how they don't just make a living out of talking nonsense. They create a new life altogether. So all things are possible with clarity, but we have to be present with clarity, and we have to be present to ourselves, and we have to really spend the time to know what we want. We can't give our minds mixed signals on an ongoing basis and think that it will serve us and get us to where we want to get to. Finally, this really is finally. I think it's important to remember that courage is not needed in big, huge, enormous doses. Courage is really only needed in small doses. Courage has to last for those 6 seconds that you move forward instead of staying stuck and still. Courage has to last for those few seconds when you actually speak when you would otherwise have remained silent. Once you take that first micro moment into courage, the rest opens up normally and naturally. And I think that we underestimate how much strength, how much power, and how much resilience there is inside of us. So I hope that this is useful to you. I hope that you take advantage of the time you have invested in creating more clarity for yourself. And please know that it's not a one and done exercise. This is something that you continue working with. set aside what I call CEO days. This is the days in which your brand steps into, your personal brand steps into the CEO role, where you are leading and giving direction, and where you are clarifying, and when you are reshaping the way in which you're using time, your energy, and your resources. If you were running a business, you would never just do this one and done kind of visioning thing and then leave it for the year. You would create rituals and practices where you are sitting and thinking about, what have I done? What can I do next? What is the information in what I have done? What were the results? What are they telling me? How must I pivot? How must I shift? And then you move forward and you take new action and you set new goals and targets. The same for our clarity, the same for our lives. Our lives are far more important than any business that we can run. The joy that we experience, the bliss that we experience, these are so tied to our longevity. Our quality of life is a lot less about what we do on the outside and a lot more about what we do on the inside. And ironically, the more we show up courageously to our intentions, the better our well-being, the less burnout we have, the more inspired we live, and the more inspired relationships that we have. So that's my story. I hope it's useful to you. Please let me know if there's anything I can assist and support with. Bye for now.